Hello and welcome to Coffee with Jenny B. It's about conversations over coffee, about community, connections, what brings me joy, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jenny Sacco-Bak. Music is a universal language. It has the ability to soothe, to heal, to uplift, to fill you with joy, and to really make you happy about life. And sometimes music gives you those memories that relate to a specific moment in time. And that always brings a smile to my face when I think about those moments. For me, growing up around music made me feel that it was well-rounded. When I was in junior high, I played in the band. I played clarinet, not very well, but I still played it. And I want to give a shout out to our music teacher, Mr. Carlisle Wilson, who was so patient, and even though we really didn't do a very good job, he always encouraged us to try. And then in high school, I was in the choir, I was in the madrigal choir, and I loved the idea of singing and really sharing my voice and loving the idea of music. Now, when you think about music in terms of education, it's really important that you start at a young age because that gives you that ability to really appreciate it. And when you think about babies, they dance before they walk, and so they already know that music is an important part of their life. My guest today also knows the importance about music. She is a voice and piano teacher. She is also a music therapist. She is a singer, a songwriter. She has her own band. And she really embodies everything that I think about in terms of music. Her name is Deidra Borus, and she is going to share with us her story about music and a surprise at the end. Welcome, Deidra.
Thank you for having me, Jenny.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Me too.
So tell me, how did you get started in music?
Oh, that's a big question. Well, I started singing was probably the first thing. I started when I was very young, just around my house singing, and my parents, I probably drew both my parents crazy, sang all around the house. And then I actually got into dance, and I danced for quite a while. And then there was actually this really funny moment I was thinking about this morning on the drive over where we had like a dance concert. And I was dressed up as Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, and I had this like black and orange tutu and this bright orange jumpsuit. And I got up in the middle and we were supposed to do this dance together, and I pushed my way to the front and I stood there and I started singing, which was like not in the script at all.
Oh no.
And then my parents were like, yep, I knew she's gonna be a superstar. So after that, I basically got into singing right after that. Took lessons when I was 6, 7 years old. And yeah, I've been doing so much since then. I used to sing in church choir. I did church choir for many years. Shout out to Meadowood United Church. And what else did I do? I took so many voice lessons, so many amazing teachers. And yeah, it's just kind of escalated to, you know, middle school, high school, then university, and then now doing it professionally. So it's always been a big part of my life, and I don't know where I'd be without it, to be honest with you. So yeah.
You know, I totally understand because I think about, you know, all that I've mentioned about my own music journey, so to speak. And it's really played a big difference in terms of how I've approached life in a sense.
For sure.
And also what I'm doing now in terms of teaching Zumba. And, you know, music, of course, is a big part of that. Mm-hmm. But when you took all the lessons, did you ever think that, okay, one day I'm going to do this professionally and be a singer-songwriter? Or was it just something that your parents expected you to do, or that it was just something that you thought, hey, this is pretty cool, I might want to continue doing this?
Yeah, I think I always knew that I wanted to do something with music. I think even from a young age, I was like, if I'm not doing this, then I don't know what I would do. The only other thing I can remember is when I was singing my very, very first like actual performance, besides like being 6 years old, was at like music festivals. So like the Winnipeg Music Festival, and those experiences were so cool. However, I didn't really love the music I was singing. Like it's mostly either classical or like musical theater, and shout out to all my musical theater teachers in the past. They're all amazing. But it wasn't really something for me. And I tried a bunch of different things out. Like I was in Rainbow Stage. I was in MTYP, Manitoba Theatre for Young People. I did a few acting shows at MTC Warehouse. There's just so many options. And it never really stuck to me the way that writing my own music and performing on a stage did. And I never really got my actual taste of that until I was in university when I had the lead role in an opera called The Merry Wives of Windsor.
No way.
Yeah, and it was quite funny because we'll talk about this in a little bit, but
Okay.
I went to 2 universities, and I started off at University in Manitoba, and I did I started to complete my degree in vocal performance, and I got to my 3rd year and I just realized it wasn't for me. So I actually dropped out and I didn't do music after that for 2 years until my mom sent me this link to Canadian Mennonite University. They were having a music therapy open house. And I remember her texting me being like, you should go and check it out. And I was like, this sounds stupid. Honestly, that was my first thought. I was like, this is not for me. I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't have a hot clue. And I remember going to the open house and being totally awestruck by the power of music and what it can do. And after that, I got accepted into the music program. And then 2 years later, I got into the music therapy program. And that was the year that I had the lead in Merry Wives of Windsor. And I was on stage and I remember singing all these beautiful high operatic high notes and everyone looking at me and clapping. And I was like, wow, this is such a great feeling. And then I realized that maybe opera wasn't my thing and I should try something else. So it's just kind of stemmed from there. And I started looking for other outlets to perform, whether it was solo with my guitar or just, finding little tiny gigs here and there, like if it's at like a church function or like a birthday party or whatever. And I started there and it's just escalated into me fronting a band. Like, who would have thought? Like, me, 34 years old. So, yeah, there's a lot.
Well, and I love the trajectory of your journey in terms of starting. And you know what? I can relate to the idea of, oh, that sounds like a stupid idea. Why would I want to do this?
Right? I know.
But then deciding that, just because, well, mom suggested it, so maybe, I should go check it out because if I don't, then, mom's on my case, right?
Right, totally.
But then going and then, having that aha moment and realizing like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I can imagine how that must have felt going through the program and realizing the effect of music, right?
Totally.
Because as a music teacher, what do you feel in terms of your students and how they're reacting to music? Do you find that different types of music will make a difference, given that your own journey in terms of trying opera and it's okay, not for me, and then maybe musical theater, not so much, but then finding your own groove? So what do you think?
It's a lot of my students range from, so I think my youngest student is 6. And my oldest student, I believe she is 65 or 66 years old.
Wow.
So and then of course I've got teenagers and 20-year-olds. So it's a big mix. So I know, especially a lot of my young students, quite often, especially voice students, when they come in, it's because they've heard a song and they want to try it out. And I say, great. So I always will start with what they love because I'm not going to give them a piece of music and have them hate it. I'm very open in that sense. I really want my students to love what they're doing because I believe if you don't love what you're doing, there's no point. That's just always been my mantra. But I do have, I teach everything. Even though I don't do opera professionally or musical theater professionally, I still love it. I absolutely love every musical. I am a big fan of Wicked that just came out. I've loved Wicked for years. But yeah, so a lot of students of mine will hear songs and they'll want to sing them. And so we'll usually start with it. I'll explain how the song works and then we'll go from there. And then of course you have the young kids who are like, I want to sing Frozen. I want to sing Wicked. I want to do, So you kind of start there and then it just kind of builds because then they'll maybe jump to a different genre. I've had students sing musical theater and then all of a sudden want to sing classical repertoire. Or they'll start with singing opera and maybe they want to try something a little more contemporary with something like a singer-songwriter named Birdie. She does this beautiful song called What About Angels? And it's this beautiful contemporary song that is totally opposite of an opera. So yeah, but all my students, I think, I think they really, I mean, I hope they really appreciate that I kind of give them free rein, but I'm also helping them to be the best musicians that they can be ultimately, right? And that the same thing goes for my piano students, right? Just because it's piano doesn't mean it can't be fun. Right. So I have students doing theme songs, or like I have a student who is obsessed with anime. So we're doing some anime TV themes.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's super cool. But then like last week, actually, my one student, she came in and she's like, I have a surprise for you. And she's 15. And I said, okay. So she comes in, she sits down at the piano, she pulls out this piece of music that I've never seen, and she starts playing the Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven.
Oh my
Like just randomly. And then she played the first page and she looked at me and she's like, was that okay? I was like, that was amazing. Like, what? So now she wants to kind of do that side of things. So it really just depends, you know, every person is different in their own journey. So.
I want to think about your journey with opera for a second.
Sure.
Do you challenge your students? So, you know, obviously getting them to do what they like to do first, but then do you throw different challenges? So maybe opera, maybe country, maybe different genres, and maybe they don't necessarily love it all, but do you find that it really helps with their range and really strengthen their vocals?
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I have... Quite often I will pick a song, or I'll pick a song and then I'll have them pick a song. And usually I will say that our songs should be contrasting of one another. So let's see if I can give an example here. I had a student a couple weeks ago. We've been working on, because Wicked's so popular, we've been working on The Wizard and I from Wicked, which is like Elphaba's big song before she, you know, meets the wizard. And we started working on that because that song was it's very high belt heavy. And she really struggled with that. She was like, this is so challenging. I was like, it is. I said, now let's turn our attention to something different. We're going to do a song that's really, really low. We're going to work on your low range. And she had such a hard time with it. But ultimately, she really thanked me because we did that other song. And I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. But we did that song. We came back, did The Wizard and I. And then all of a sudden, her high notes were like so much more powerful. And then now we're going on to a song that's going to really sustain and work on those high notes. So it's cool to watch their journey and to see what they can achieve if they really open up, you know, their horizons and try something maybe that they don't really like or something that they never would have chosen for themselves, right? And then they tend to kind of stick with that genre and then do those songs. And I'm like, well, that's amazing. I kind of made a difference. So that's kind of cool to see.
No, it is cool. Very cool. I like the idea that you switched, you know, from high to low. Now, a lot of that is using, I guess, different techniques, but it's also using different breathing, isn't it?
For sure.
So do you do breath exercises with your students? And what are those?
For sure we do. We do tons of exercises. Breathing is a huge part of voice lessons. Although a lot of people don't think it. They're just like, I'm going to just sing and see what happens. But breathing really comes from within you. And a lot of people will tend to just go,
right? It's all here.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, it's a full, deep embodied breath. So usually when we do warm-ups in my lessons, we'll start with breathing and we'll start with stretching. Those are like two most important things. So same with working out, right? Like you got to stretch. So we'll do like just taking 3 deep breaths in, breathing out. We'll stretch. We'll do some warm-ups that kind of focus on maybe holding a note for a few seconds and then switching vowel shapes or pitches. There have been times where I have tested my students to see how long they can hold their breath for. Especially in musical theater, there's a lot of songs that require you to hold a singular note for quite a long period of time. So yeah, we do a lot of that, and then we just do some fun warm-ups, and then we'll just sing until the time is over. Usually our lessons are 30 minutes. I have a few students who are 45, and I have one student who's an hour. So it just kind of depends on the student. But yeah, lots of different exercises. This is always fun.
It is. Yeah, it sounds like fun. A memory just popped into my head. Sister Act. Have you ever seen that movie?
Oh, love that movie.
All right. So there's a scene where I forget her, Mary Roberts, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, she's kind of meek and she's kind of, and then Whoopi, you know, kind of pushes her up. Like pushes her. I'm just going, right?
Yeah, it's so cool. That's probably one of my favorite movie scenes, musicals of all time, because you can really see where like the choir is kind of working to achieve like the pure triad of music, right?
Yes.
And then Mary Roberts is sitting there and she's so meek and, you know, and she sings and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Like, where did that voice come from?
Where did it come from? But it's so true because a lot of my students will come in and they don't have very powerful voices. And I think nowadays, like with artists like Billie Eilish, for example, she's got a very breathy, whispery tone, which is lovely. And a lot of people I find, and a lot of my students will come in and they'll try and emulate certain artists. And I always have to remind them, you are you. You are your own voice. Don't try to be something you're not, but take that influence and make it your own, right? So it is very cool to see when they come in and they sound very quiet and all of a sudden I go, hey, and they're like, hey. I'm like, no. I'm like, if I'm standing over there and you're trying to call to me, you're not gonna be like, hi, Deidra. You're gonna be like, hey, how's it going? You know? And then they get really awkward and uncomfortable. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, we're just talking, two people, right? And then all of a sudden they open up and they can sing and it really translates into their voice, which is super cool to see. And then I'm sure the other teachers in the studio are like, what are they doing in there? Because I'm very loud and obnoxious. So I'm sure they hear me and they're like, what's going on in there? But we always have fun.
Well, and that's the thing, because if they're not having fun and they're just like, oh, I have to be here, versus, wow, I can't wait to see you next week or whenever the next lesson is. Yeah, and you want them to be excited about it because that's what you were. You were excited as you were going through it and discovering that's a part of who you were.
Absolutely.
And finding that groove that works for you. And not to say that you're not going to try different things, but at the same time, you want them to really enjoy what they're doing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I love that you give them that confidence and that ability that, yes, they can do it. You know, I'll never forget the first time that I had to speak really loudly because I'm very soft-spoken. But when I speak loudly, it almost like startles me. It's like, you know, where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly.
But now that being a teacher, you know, I use my teacher's voice and it's like, hey, right?
Listen to me.
And everybody's like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. That's too funny. I can't imagine you like yelling at anybody. So.
Yeah, you know what? I have a good voice for yelling. I don't yell. I speak very loudly.
Yes.
You know, although my husband, who's partly deaf, says I'm always yelling, but that's
you know,
that's a different story. You know, I want to think about some of your students, the ones that you say, you know, like they want to sing, you know, from Frozen and so on and so forth. I have a story about my granddaughter Lenny. So she's 7, but when she was 5, she was into like My Little Pony.
Oh yeah.
And it was the cutest thing. So she would pull it up, the video, and then she would sing along with it. But then she would do like the little dances, like the little Little Pony dance.
That's awesome.
But she is totally into musical theater. My daughter, they tried to put her into hockey and they tried to put her into soccer, and we're like, no. She's music, she's dance, yeah.
That's great.
And she loves it, and she loves trying different things. She hasn't actually had formal lessons. Now, for someone who wants to not necessarily become professional, although you don't know it at the time, but they want to continue their musical career or just enjoying music in general, how young or when should they start taking music lessons?
It all depends on the child itself. Me personally, I try to accommodate everyone. The youngest student I've ever taught was 5 years old. And me personally, I don't think that's too young. I really think it depends on the maturity level. I try not to take anybody unless they're 6, because I feel like at 6 years old, you're really kind of like, all right, I think I kind of know what I want in a little bit of a sense.
Okay.
Some 5-year-olds I find can be a little bit scatterbrained, as we all can. I have had a few students that have come in for trial lessons at 5, and I've had to say maybe come back in a year because they just weren't focused enough. And especially voice, it's a little different. For piano, it's a very structured instrument, right? Like you got to learn so many different notes and how everything works. And if the student is not able to do that at home with their parents' assistance, then maybe it's not the right time. But I had a 5-year-old student when I first started, because I've been teaching since, 2016, I think I've been teaching.
Okay.
I had a student when I first started and he was 5 years old, and I still have him and he's 14 now.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah. So, I think he's 12 now. But yeah, just a long time. And he was amazing when he was 5, and he's continuing to do amazing things now that he's older, right? But yeah, it really depends. I know some teachers tend to take like some students at 4. I find 4 is a little too young.
Yeah, because I think they're more interested in playing versus
Right. Yeah. And then at that point, even if you had a 4 or a 5-year-old student coming in for voice lessons, it's all about like music for appreciation as opposed to music as a career, right? So it really just depends on the child and the family. If the family is willing to put in the work to sit with them, which is why sometimes I'll have some parents with the younger kids to come in for the lesson so they can see how things work. Because 9 times out of 10, if the kid wants to play piano, like, and the parents aren't musical, it's kind of hard to bring them together. But if the parents are musical and they want to try and they really are willing to do that, then it works out just fine.
Yeah, no, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Tell us about your musical therapy as a therapist. And
music therapy, sure.
Yes. Let's talk about that for a second.
Music therapy is amazing. So I work at a personal care home. That's my full-time job. And I work with in long-term care. So I work with residents as young as 60, as old as our oldest resident is, I believe, 108. So anywhere within that range. I always knew, even from a young age, I really enjoyed being around the elderly, even at church. Because I remember singing in the choir and being around older adults and being like, they're so nice. Like they're so gentle. They have such a nice ambiance about them. And when I got into university and I got into the music therapy program, I really knew that I wanted to work in long-term care. So the way that music therapy works, I went to CMU, and amazing university. Shout out to CMU, you guys are amazing. And when you get into the music therapy program, you have to take 4 practicum classes where you actually go to different places in the city and you get to observe music therapists in the field, and then you get to implement your own techniques and stuff as you get further into the practicum. So I was really blessed. I got to go to so many amazing different placements. I went to Fort Richmond Collegiate. I worked with teens. I went to River Ridge Retirement Residence, where I actually ended up working for a couple of years. And then where else did I go? I did some one-on-one visits with some people from the Jewish community. And then I went to a middle school and I worked with like young kids. So I had a really big, wide variety of working with different populations. But every single time I would always come back to long-term care. And I always knew that I wanted to do that. And specifically, I wanted to work in palliative care because I know it sounds morbid for some people, but I really enjoy the process of death. I really enjoy being that person musically that helps to send them into their next life. And some people will be like, how do you manage that? Like, how do you go home at the end of the day knowing that? And I'm like, honestly, it makes me feel really good. I love it. Yeah. I've never had anything bad to say about that process. I mean, it's not nice, you know, like it's a very difficult thing to go through if you're not used to it. And I've worked with so many amazing residents over the years that have just like changed my life. And so my hope is that I've changed theirs and their families. But yeah, music therapy is truly an amazing thing where you can sing a song that someone knows from their past and they can really, you can feel that you know that they know it even before they're passing away, right? So it's beautiful. It's really quite a wonderful thing.
Yeah, no, I think they do know how much it means to them and how much they appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I love the idea, and you know, death is funny in a sense that, you know, people either fear it or they think it's morbid or it's sad. But when someone is going on to their next journey and you're providing the song that brings them joy, that, you know, with a smile on their face, and it's like, you know, a lullaby, singing a baby to sleep in a sense, but you're sending them off in something wonderful and soothing. And yeah, no, I love that.
Me too. It's really amazing how you can sing a song as simple as "You Are My Sunshine" and make somebody's day, you know, and to watch them sing the lyrics back to you, knowing that that song has been around for, I was talking about this with my residents last week. It's been around for like over 100 years. And even now it's still used. And I know that when I'm older, I'm going to know it, right? Like I'm 34 and when I'm in my 90s, I hope someone sings it to me, because I'll know it. It's something that's, like you said before at the beginning, it's such a universal language, music, and it kind of hits everyone through the different stages of their life. And some songs are just meant to be for everybody. So
in addition to your career in music and so on, I mentioned in the intro that you're a singer and a songwriter.
I am.
So tell us about your career as a singer and also about your band.
Sure. Yes, I'm a singer-songwriter. I perform solo, duo, trio shows. Shout out to my duo partner, Clinton. He's amazing local Winnipeg guitarist. And my band, Suburban Funk Machine, shout out to my bandmates, Jamie, JJ, Ryan, and Derek. Derek also performs as a trio with Derek and I.
Oh, perfect.
And yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun. So usually for solo shows, I'll bring my guitar and just kind of do some covers and originals. The duo shows are myself and Clinton, and we just he plays acoustic guitar as well. So we blend together really well, and he's an amazing guy. God love him. He's great. And then just recently we decided to start this trio because there was a new venue opening in Winnipeg called Bell's Kitchen Music and Hall. I don't know if
yes, on Narranavan.
Yes. And so they were looking for like duos and trios. And I had said to Clinton, I was like, hey, we should see if we can get a drummer. So I asked Derek, he was totally willing. So he came in. So now we're just kind of doing trios. And then the big project is Suburban Funk Machine, my band. We've been together since before the pandemic. So when we got together, I actually auditioned for them in 2019, and they were under a different name back then. It was $1,000 Truck, and they were more of a country rock band.
Okay.
And so when I went and auditioned for them, I was the only girl out of 7 people that auditioned, and I was the last audition. I went in, I sang, and as I was leaving, they all ran upstairs, and they were like, we need you. I was like, okay.
You blew him out of the water.
I blew him away, apparently. So we had one show as $1,000 Truck in January of 2020, and then March, it shut everything down. So that whole first year, we actually ended up rebranding and changing things because we felt that the music scene needed a bit of a change. They needed something that was more dancey, more fun. So we changed into Suburban Funk Machine, and then we started performing out again in 2021. And now 2025, here we are. So
here you are.
Here we are. We're a 5-piece cover band. We do some of my originals, and we perform everywhere. The Toad, the King's Head, the Rec Room. We got a lot of shows coming up, and we do private functions, weddings, socials, all that jazz. So it's so much fun. I love that I get to do this every day. So.
Oh my gosh. So you have your music career, you have your band, you do your own solo gigs, trios, duos, therapy. Oh my gosh, like your life is music.
It is. It really is. There's really nothing else that I do except I play pool. That's the other thing that I do. That's my little extracurricular activity. So.
Well, you need a break, right? Just
of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's tons of fun.
Well, it sounds like fun. Yeah. So tell us, do you have some shows coming up?
I do. Actually, this Saturday, March 29th, my trio is performing at Bell's Kitchen Music Hall at 8:15 p.m. to 11. So feel free to stop on by. They have amazing Nashville barbecue. The food is incredible. The space is incredible. It's got great acoustics. And at Bell's, they actually have music almost every day. So if you've ever been in the area, go check out Bell's. It's fantastic. With my band, I've got 2 shows coming up. The first one is April 11th at the Rec Room, which is on Sterling Lyon Parkway. And the following Saturday, April 12th, my band is at the King's Head Pub. So if you are over 18 and want to go party, that is the place to be. And that's the Rec Room is at 9 p.m. And the King's Head usually around 10:15, and I believe cover is $5 there. So
okay. And so to find out the information, where can they go?
You can follow me on social media. My Facebook page is Deidra Borus Musician. My Instagram is at Deidra Borus _. You can also go on my website, www.deidraborus.com, or to check out my band shows, www.suburbanfunkmachine.com.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
No problem.
I mentioned that we've got a surprise at the end, and so I would love to hear one of your original songs.
Sure.
So if you'd like to play a song for us, that would be wonderful.
Sure, I would love to. So this is one of my originals. It's called The Mad Hatter's House, and I actually just released it last Friday, March 21st. It's a song from the perspective of someone that I used to work with who has since passed away, about being trapped in your own body with no way out. So this is The Mad Hatter's House. Peace. I know what they all think, I'm just a little crazy, but I'm just stuck, my mind is clouded and hazy, and I'm sitting right down inside the Mad Hatter's house. I hear you talk to me, but I can't say anything. My heart is crying out for someone to save me, and I'm falling right down here in the Mad Hatter's house. My cries are bouncing off the walls, I can't see now. He's taking me underground. It's so topsy-turvy. My vision's getting blurry. I crawl around like a mouse 'cause I'm staying the night, and I can't make a sound in the Mad Hatter's house. Still waiting day by day, and all my hope is fading. I wanna move, but my whole body is aching. I can't talk, scream, or shout. You're in the Mad Hatter's house. I'm crying out and he's still pulling me under, and there ain't no one around. It's so topsy-turvy. My vision's getting blurry. I crawl around like a mouse 'cause I'm staying the night, and I can't make a sound. He's here, the one they call the Mad Hatter. He's big, tall, and mean, and your thoughts don't matter. Got dark blue eyes and a devilish grin. He's coming to get ya, the evil within. Your mind is crazy, vision hazy, turn around. He does a 180, can't escape these walls you're in. You're trapped inside, the story begins. And even though it's hard to speak when your brain is fried, body's weak, he whispers to you soft and slow, I'll take care of you down below. Topsy-turvy, my vision's getting blurry. I crawl around like a mouse 'cause I'm staying the night, and I can't make a sound. It's so topsy-turvy. My vision's getting blurry. I crawl around like a mouse 'cause I'm staying the night, and I can't make a sound.
You've been listening to Coffee with Jenny B on the Multicultural channel. I'm your host, Jenny Sacco-Bak.